event tonight, so please behave. All right, our first writer. Barbara Barrows is a member of Waterline Writers and the Fox Valley Writers Group. She's been writing poetry for around 13 years. By day, she works in photo research and at Townhouse Books. I am correct, yeah. And at night, she is a writer, abstract painter, actor, and also parent, I might add. She and her daughter live here in Batavia with 2 cats, 2 dogs, and way too many books to handle. Barbara.
Thank you. I'm going to do this. And my first poem is a poem about one of those dogs. So, here we go. It's called Complicated Love, or subtitled Bad Dog. Many of you can relate. I can't say why, looking at her, I think of a seal. For the long head, sleek blackness, and liquid brown eyes, seems to be more of a horse, if we are to compare her to any creature other than what she is. Canis lupus familiaris. Or in this case, Canis lupus horriliibus. She, the legacy unwanted. If I am being generous to us, her and I say, it is because she is too much dog for me. And by too much, I mean her sudden escapes into the street, with my middle-aged parts jiggling and lurching as I give pursuit. And by too much, I mean the confinement to one room, plastic-covered to comic proportions, whenever I leave the house, since she relieves herself on a valued rug. Any food left unattended on the counter is transported to her stomach, the wrappers and cutlery to the middle of the dining room floor. She is politician, delirious to every and anyone who crosses our threshold, so supplicant, attentive, needful, as to make my accusations of her character to the watching world false. If I'm being honest with a few cherished souls whose good opinion of me is assured, I will whisper that no other has moved me to such thoughts of violence. As I lie in bed, her black body pressed into the length of my back, I pray to St. Francis and any gods who will take my prayers to rain down grace sublime into my hardened heart, to embrace her with all her habits dog, before I am revealed as a callous monster to the judging world, excited to condemn that which they themselves condone. And here we have another poem that came about when I was taking a walk with said dog out at the Batavia Dog Park. But it's not about her. This is Relic. Under a cool grove of trees, I come across evidence of an ending. The ending violent, the evidence beautiful. The yellow, black, gray, white feathers in a loose circle, and part of a bloodied trunk. I am drawn to the varied patterns of the plumage, trying to pinpoint the yellow in each feather, and only sometimes finding where it is exactly, yet somehow still seeing the flash of sun, lemons, and sunflowers against the blacks and grays. I pause and consider before taking a few precious feathers, half musing that they are relics. It was believed that being in the presence of a finger of a saint speeded one's prayers to the Father, provided a bridge to the divine. An argument among heretics could be made for the holiness of birds, but I wonder at my motives. Do I tuck the small lacy remnants into my dirty bag, poor reliquary that it is, to be closer to God or to beauty? I am fearful to think they might be the same. And this next one has a title that would make sense to no one, but other than to say that it was prompted when I inadvertently said something to someone and it got them upset. And so, it takes but a short sentence, maybe 2, and I am flung to that familiar country, long unvisited, of childish hurts, of ragged breaths uncontrolled, hot tears, unstoppable flow. A misstep, some crucial words unheard, so that a well-meaning gesture wounds instead of soothes. This child land of sharp edges, the native tongue undecipherable, I left as soon as I could run, mistakenly assumed the years away would keep me away. How was I to know that the portal to this land would be opened by a handsome young man fighting his way back from his own despised country, flung there by my careless words? How am I doing on time, Kevin? I don't want to run, but okay. Black lines. Huh?
You have 3 or 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, then I'm going to go with just this. And this was inspired by a piece of music. So basically what I would say is to think that there might be some times in your life when a piece of music or something strikes something that may seem odd to you. So as I ramble, let's just get to the poem. It's just this. There is an exquisite melody, let me start over. There is an exquisite melancholy in this simple melody that opens a door and leads you to a room with an empty chair in the middle, a temporal waiting room, as it were. You sit there with a gently stretching pain that is not yours until you hover on the edge of someone else's memory, then slip quietly in through another door, a back door of this other life, like some unregarded family member crouched in the kitchen, noticed by no one. The linoleum is worn and warmly yellow. The music weaves itself through you to a man. All his stifled yearnings are evident only within the breasts of measured bars playing in his life. You must watch the silences to solve the mystery of this man, who is a foreigner unto himself. Your eyes meet, and before you can tell him the answer, the melody leads you back, out of his life, past the empty chair, through the door, until you stand in your own life, stunned by a beauty that is both fragile and fierce, ordinary and remarkable. This last poem was written over 10 years ago when I still lived in the city and took public transportation everywhere. So this is Rush Hour on the Red Line. There's just one seat open on the crowded train when I boarded the Washington station. One seat open and plenty of people standing, wanting to sit. As I stake out my claim and sit down, I expect the young black man whose legs are spread into my temporary territory to move back across the invisible line that separates our lives. He does not. Is it stubbornness or conviction? I cannot tell, for I do not look into his face, for that might provoke tomorrow's headlines. Or a gracious gesture. I'll never know. But I do not retreat. I too have my pride, or stubbornness. How easily one becomes the other. So we sit, thighs pressed together. He is probably angry. I am certainly seething, and will be for the next 20 minutes. 20 minutes of holding my ground against my mind searches for a list of names to call this man, but in the end, I can only know that he is a man who refuses to move. 20 minutes physically connected to a man I think hates my whiteness. It is longer than I ever hugged my grandfather or held my aunt's hand. Was there ever a friend this long I embraced? I never held my sister for this length of time. When I think of all the people I have loved more and touched less, the disc of red in my stomach edges toward a cooler hue. Our thighs still touching. I doubt he notices the difference. Thank you.